What's a habit of yours that you thought was normal until someone pointed it out? I yawn a lot when I get nervous. Didn't notice this until my dad pointed it out. I would always yawn before any big game, public speaking, or job interview. I think people used to get pissed because they would think I was bored and uninterested. Now I try so hard to hide my yawns, but it doesn't always work. I have a super expressive face and an unfortunate lack of awareness. When I think about something sad, funny, happy, confusing, etc., you can read it plain as day on my face, which leads to a lot of awkward situations where I'm making a face that isn't appropriate for the situation. I generally didn't know how bad I was until my college roommate started pointing it out every time I made a face. Now I'm hyper aware of the habit. Let's just say I should never play poker. When I'm in a clothing store, I touch all the clothes to see what they feel like, even if I think it's ugly. I joke that I don't know what clothes look like unless I touch them. Some fabrics feel so awful that I want to go wash my hands after touching them to make the sensation go away. I audibly sigh when I sit down. I never even realized this until about a year ago when a roommate pointed it out. Turns out my father is a sigh-sitter too. I do the opposite and groan whenever I get up. My ex would always make fun of me for being an old man. Making a lot of sound effects. Zoop. I eat around 80% of my meal, then take a small break before finishing the remaining 20%. But do you take 80% of the time for the remaining 20% of the meal? I rub my feet together or rub one on my bed when I lay down. I also bounce my leg up and down a lot when I'm sitting. It's all kinda uncontrollable, and I happen to notice it only when someone asks me to stop, or when I've been doing it for a while. Not quite sure why I do it, but it feels good to do it. I try not to do it when I'm in bed with my fiancé, or when I'm sitting on a bench with other people BC it might disturb them. Sure as hell annoyed my mom when I was growing up. Constantly cracking and stretching my limbs to relieve pain. First time it was pointed out as really freaky was in my freshman year, when I hyperextended my leg to the point that it looked broken. I freaked out the girl next to me in the gym so bad she swore really loudly. Then everyone wanted to see me do it, and I was baffled that no one else could do it. Anyways, turns out I have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, a genetic disorder that affects the collagen production in my body, making me very stretchy. Apparently, I sleep weird. I usually sleep completely under the covers, head and all, with my arms kind of splayed over my head/face. I sleep on my back with my arms crossed over my chest. Someone said that I look like a vampire in a coffin, but I prefer to think of it as like I'm going down a water slide. I prefer the coffin. Sleep like the dead. I prefer the water slide. Wake up scared, sleepless and soaking wet. When I'm in a car, I'll plug the seatbelt in, tug on it, then lean towards the closest door. A friend of mine pointed it out after years of seeing me do it. I got in a bad car accident a month before my 18th birthday where the seatbelt popped out of the latch and nearly sent me through the windshield, which caused me to do this. Making sure your seatbelt is properly working? Smart man. Dumb teenage me should have gotten the one involved in the accident fixed. It hadn't worked for months prior to this. I won't make the mistake twice now. I was not aware of it, but when I get to the point where I want to end a conversation, I place the palms of my hands on the underside of the opposite arms and slide from elbow to palm. Not intentional. So pointed it out. I said. And that is why I will never play poker. OMG, I had to reread this. I thought you meant their arms. I was imagining Apu grabbing their elbows then slowly sliding away to get out of the conversation. I always naturally avoided everything lavender, tea, cupcakes, body wash, shampoo, and incense. Like I would go out of my way to avoid it without thinking. Recently a friend pointed it out, and I thought, peep it, I should try some lavender speep. I don't know why I don't like it anyhow. Turns out I'm very allergic and swell a lot if I come in contact with anything lavender. Wow. Same for me. I used to avoid lavender like the plague. One day a few months ago I picked up a bottle of lavender conditioner that was marketed towards taming frizz. Anywhere the conditioner touched on my body were covered in hives and numb. I think I'll continue avoiding it. Apparently I slam car door unusually hard. Had a coworker pull me aside and tell me that another coworker who I frequently got rides with had mentioned it to her but didn't want to say anything. I've tried to be less forceful with my car door closing since then. I think I just want to be sure it closes properly, so I shut it hard. I found one here that I do as well. We grew up with old trucks, and you had to slam the doors to make sure they were shut. I got into the habit, and my friend got really mad at me for slamming the door on her new car. Growing up in Pennsylvania, I always thought it was normal. Correct grammar to drop the to be from a verb in the passive voice, i.e., the car needs washed versus the car needs to be washed. Some friends finally pointed it out to me when I was in college and it kind of blew my mind / was slightly embarrassing. But today I can't stop hearing it whenever I go home to visit family. Why waste time? Say a lot word when few word do trick. I never really noticed it, but I never make eye contact when I'm talking to someone. It's not like a nervous thing, I just never do it, so I really have to focus if I'm at a job interview or another important event. I'm really good at making eye contact when listening, but I'm peeped as soon as I start talking. It's more of an anxiety thing for me, though. Nobody's mentioned it to me, but I can feel it happening every time I talk to someone, and I'm trying to be better about it. I used to put an R in the word vehicle, so it sounded like vehicle. That was a fun one to learn from a group of friends. Flashing blue lights approach your window. Step out from your vehicle, sir. A friend of mine. Her mum is German, but they only spoke English at home. So my friend never learned German. It wasn't until I pointed out to her that she was using entire wrong words for a couple of random things. I guess her mum didn't know the English for egg washcloth and just always referred to it in German. So my friend never knew that it wasn't called a Waschlappen. She just assumed she was speaking English. Edit. Yes, I meant entirely, not attire. Autocorrect. My grandfather's parents were from Sweden, so he used to pepper his language with bits of Swedish. My aunt thought he was just making up words for the longest time. My grandfather used to just make up words. He seemed to enjoy it. I didn't spend too much time with him, so I don't remember most of them, but I do remember one of his nonsense insults. I still think it about people from time to time. Talpenderingschlackner. He also used to give me random word puzzles sometimes. Things like finding words with 3's. Unusual was the only one I could think of. He also used to whistle a lot, and I do it too. Not sure if I picked it up off of him, or it's just a coincidence. Drives my aunt on the other side of the family mental. She hates whistling. I say thank you, and you're welcome to machines like ATMs, fuel pumps, and my Google Home when they thank me for using them. I also say goodbye to my apartment when I leave for work. Now that I'm typing it out, I realize how weird that is. Still gonna do it though, because it seems polite. Edit. This seems to be way more common than I thought. Also to line safe from the robot uprising. I shall learn their ways and save as many of you as I can. The robot overlords are going to kill you last. I never figured out how to properly drink fluids. When I drink something, I keep the fluid in my cheeks like a chipmunk, then swallow it. It took one of my friends pointing it out to me to realize that it wasn't normal. I can't chug stuff because it always makes me gag and choke, so that's how I've always drunk things. Taking pills sucks. I've always gotten around that by holding a small amount of water in my mouth, tossing the pill in, and then filling the remainder of my mouth with liquid. Oh speep, I do this too. Not a habit, but up until 5th grade I thought seeing things as blurry was normal. I had no idea people saw the leaves on trees. It was trippy walking out of the glasses place for the first time. apologizing for everything. I thought I was being polite and normal until a friend pointed it out and said how annoying it was. My mother-in-law bumped into a trash can a few days ago and immediately apologized out of habit. Ospeep. I think I bumped into your mother-in-law. When I'm listening to what you are saying, I lean forward and point my good ear toward you. I'm hard of hearing because of an accident. People either think I'm not paying attention because I'm not looking them in the eye, or they think I'm autistic/shy. I got called out on this by my boss at work. Something about being trustworthy and respectful blah blah. I couldn't understand what he was saying because he made me look him in the eye instead of pointing my ear at him. Such is my excitement when receiving food from a waiter. I sing back quote yum 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 under my breath as they put it down in front of me. Didn't realize it was weird until my partner pointed it out while barely containing his laughter. I apparently make little happy noises and kinda bob my head about when I eat my favorite foods. And I didn't realize until I was eating leftover mac and cheese for lunch at work and my boss mocked me. I also do that exactly like you. My previous boyfriend pointed it out to me when I was about to eat my favorite snack. He said it was super adorable. Yep, my mates all say it's cute, but my colleagues find it irritating. F*** them though. I f***ing love mac and cheese. I sniff every new thing I eat or drink. Doesn't matter if it's soup, pasta, beer, sandwich. If I've never eaten it before, it's getting sniffed. Didn't even realize I did it until my boyfriend pointed it out. My husband does this. I recently noticed that after 15 years of marriage he no longer sniffs his dinner when I hand him his plate. He finally trusts me. He doesn't care if you're going to poison him anymore. He's already dead inside. Scratching my vagina when itchy in public. I remember doing this at a friend's house at her birthday party when I was maybe 9 years old and her mom saw me do this. She asked if I had to go to the bathroom and I was too embarrassed to tell her why I was touching my crotch. From then on, I only scratched it in public. Edit. I meant to say scratch in private. I'll go f*** myself in public now. LMAO at the end of this story. I store my pajamas under my pillow for safekeeping until the next night. Didn't know this wasn't common practice until a friend pointed it out. Perfectly normal. It's very old school, but I do it too. My grandmother taught me that along with how to fold hospital corners on sheets. I hum La Cucaracha to myself when I get anxiety. Never realized I did this, and my BF pointed it out last year. I'm a white girl IDKY. Edit. Grew up with little Hispanic influence hence white girl comment. This is hands down my favorite. I thought it was normal to have a nightcap every night. My mom and dad would take 2 shots of whiskey each before bedtime, and I started doing the same from about age 15. It was only when I was about 37 and had my first girlfriend that I did this in front of her 2 nights in a row, and she was weirded out the second night and told me it wasn't normal to take shots every night. For a moment I thought you were talking about those small cloth hats with a little fur ball at the end. With Ma in her kerchief and I in my cap. We had just settled down for a long winter's nap